After her escape from her abusive, sociopathic, and narcissistic boyfriend, Cecilia Cass learns that Adrian has committed suicide and that she is now in the possession of $5 million. Things seem pretty okay. Right up until an invisible force begins to stalk Cecilia and terrorize the shit out of her, leading Cecilia to believe that this dude has found a way to become invisible. So Universal have been trying to set up their own cinematic universe of their old monster characters like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and so on, which is an idea that I think is brilliant. The problem is their attempts at actually getting this started. Frankenstein was awful, Dracula Untold was a fraction better than that, and the Mummy, yeah, we don't talk about that. But now we have The Invisible Man from Lee Whannell, the director of Upgrade and the writer of Saw and Insidious. Admittedly, I don't really know if this movie is trying to be or set up a cinematic universe, and I haven't seen Upgrade or Saw, but I have seen Insidious, which is still to this day one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So from a writing standpoint, to me, this guy is already a great choice for this movie. The biggest problem I've had with the 3 previous attempts at a dark universe, as well as most of the recent adaptations of these characters, and now that I think about it, this problem goes back even to Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing movie. Anyway, my biggest problem with these movies is that for some reason they were trying to be superhero movies. Because the original movies were definitely superhero movies, so you can imagine my relief when I found out that The Invisible Man was gonna be a horror movie. First thing I have to praise is the cinematography. This movie is absolutely gorgeous. There isn't much color in this movie, but trust me, that doesn't matter because all the shots have this elegant beauty about them that just makes it impossible to look away. There's a real finesse to the way the shots are crafted and how the camera moves that is honestly hypnotic in the way that it pulls you into the film. And I know there are some of you who are worried about whether or not this movie is scary. Rest assured, this movie is fecking terrifying. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a horror movie as intense as The Invisible Man since probably A Quiet Place. My heart was on the verge of bursting its way out of my chest cavity throughout the entire movie. Very rare that a horror movie in particular does that to me these days, not gonna lie. Whannell chooses to create horror in a way that I thought was really unique. He constantly makes use of the notion of looking in order to make you look for something that might not even be on set, and I love that. The camera will be focused on a character doing something like cooking or sorting through clothes, but then it will pan away from said character to another part of the room or a couch where it looks like that there's nothing there, suggesting that there is something there, a presence of some kind in there with them, stood in the corner, doorway, or sitting on a couch. But obviously because said presence is invisible, you can't actually see it. I was constantly on the edge of my seat looking for even the smallest hint of this invisible man being in a single shot, whether it was a shimmer, a weird transparent shape, and even though I never actually saw anything, I still kept looking for signs that he was there. Although at the same time, I was also dreading the inevitable moment where this guy makes his appearance because the very fact that you literally can't see him is terrifying. Even when you know that he's obviously going to do something to Elizabeth Moss, it's still scary because you don't know where this guy's gonna pop out from or where he is in proximity to the characters. For all you know, he is stood right next to Elizabeth Moss the entire time. Whannell uses suggestion with the camera perfectly, suggesting things with the camera, making the audience question what they just saw, and therefore introducing some mystery. That's how you scare people, and this movie knows it. There are some jump scares in this movie, but none of them feel cheap. In fact, they're actually really effective considering I very nearly screamed in that cinema on multiple occasions. However, the sound is also used very well in terms of creating horror. There are a number of sequences that rely on complete and utter silence in order to build tension and suspense, where you're practically listening to see if you can hear things like this dude's breath. I mean, I probably would have done if my heartbeat had a volume button, but you know. Above all, this movie is without question a psychological horror. It thoroughly explores what this is doing to Elizabeth Moss, her relationships, and her life in general. This guy, this Invisible Man, he has a plan. He's like the Xehanort of horror movies. He has a very detailed and carefully thought out plan for everything, which not only adds a sense of vulnerability to Elizabeth Moss's character, but it just makes her, and in a way everyone else in her life, at this guy's mercy. Over the course of the film, you can see this guy's plan coming together perfectly, piece by piece, the way he wants it to, so that he can make Elizabeth Moss look as crazy as he possibly can. However, despite how crazy she seems, you're on her side for pretty much the whole movie as she desperately tries to fight back and prove that this shit is actually happening to her, despite what's going against her, which adds an overwhelming sense of endearment to her character. Speaking of her character, Elizabeth Moss is excellent. She has been good in pretty much everything I've seen her in, and she does not disappoint here. This is definitely one of her best performances. I really felt for her a lot because I can totally relate to what she's going through in this movie. More than likely, at some point in your life, you feel like you're being controlled by someone, or you've met someone that's made you feel like you're not worth anything. And that's really why I cared about her character so much. However, things get even more interesting when the Invisible Man starts to torment her, and it dawns on her that she has to do something about it. In this case, though, nobody understands what she's going through, and she can't just go up to friends and family and be like, "Hey, I'm being attacked by an invisible man. He's invisible. Like, so invisible you can't even see him. Invisible!" She'd look like a crazy person if she went and did that. So she's pretty much on her own, and she can't rely on anyone to fight back against this guy except herself, which not only adds even more vulnerability to her character, but it also ups the stakes, because even though this guy is only going after one specific person, that is exactly the point. He's after one specific person. Not a group of people, where stereotypically in those movies, 1 or 2 people would survive. Just one person. So Moss is constantly in danger due to that fact, and also the fact that this guy could be stood right in front of her and she wouldn't even know it. I was invested for the vast majority of the movie, although at times the Invisible Man does rely a little too much on some very questionable movie logic. There are some plot holes and inconsistencies. For example, there is a scene that takes place in a restaurant. If there was even one security camera, just the one, the movie would be over. Sure, I get that. Every movie has a bit of movie logic thrown in there that the filmmakers really hope you'll roll with, even though that's more than likely not how it would go in real life, how something would work in real life, or just doesn't make sense. I get it, but what annoys me about this scene in particular is that it is really easy to fix this problem. All they would have had to do is have this scene take place in a less crowded or more secluded and private area. Although with that said, you could argue that this scene had to take place in a location with lots of people in order to have its effect, even though it feels really coincidental. There's also a weird inconsistency regarding transportation in terms of how someone is getting to certain places that doesn't really make sense either, but thankfully those moments are few and far between. The Invisible Man is an excellent sci-fi horror movie. I think this is one of the best horror movies I've seen in the past 5 years, and I am really thankful that Lee Whannell took this film in a more horror-centric direction, and didn't just try and turn it into a generic superhero movie pretending to be a horror movie. It is a straight-up psychological science fiction horror movie, and a good one at that. Hell, I'd even say it's a great movie. I don't know if they're planning on using this movie as a launching point for another Dark Universe attempt, but honestly, I think they should just leave this movie as a standalone story. As much as I do love the idea of a Dark Universe, I don't think that this movie really needs to be another launching point for another cinematic universe attempt. But who am I kidding? They're probably gonna do it anyway. I mean, why would they listen to me? I'm just some weirdo on YouTube with an even weirder hat. A good-looking weirdo, but still. Point is, The Invisible Man is a great movie, and with that, The Invisible Man gets an 8.6 out of 10. So that was my review of The Invisible Man. I do hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching, and yeah, I know, it is a dark time right now with this virus going around and people in a panic, as well as a lack of toilet paper, but let's just all try and stay positive, stay safe, but also have fun. I'm still going to continue my YouTube channel, although it is going to be a little different now because a lot of movies have been cancelled or pushed back. The point is, I'm still going to continue my channel and hopefully give people something to talk about other than this freaking virus, e.g. movies. But for now, please stay safe, wash your hands, and for crying out loud, don't put pictures up on your Instagram of empty shelves in supermarkets. Does that help? No, it doesn't. So please, don't do that. Anyway, until next time, stay safe and take care.